Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series.
Because creators are businesses.
What we do is not simple.
Give, the fans everything that they deserve.
Being creative
is like doing a 5,000 piece puzzle.
is something that you can learn and do over and over again.
Always be as authentic as I can be.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am so excited today to have Miss Lauren Harper here with me. She's the social media manager for the Detroit Lions. My Lions heart is so happy to have her here with me. Lauren, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk.
I want to hop right into all this and I want to just dive into your background and understand like for you, where was sports your first passion, your first love that kind of translated into I want to work in sports. I want to be in this world.
So I was on a parallel track almost
Okay.
until I wasn't. I started off kind of just doing journalism, just very general. I just wanted to be a journalist, and then dare I say, I wanted to be kind of like the female journalists we saw in the movies in
Yes.
the 2000s, or the
Yeah.
aughts. That was totally me. I was totally on board with that. But then sports was also just something I was interested in on the side. Like my dad played sports, and my sister did for a little bit,
Okay.
and I was a cheerleader in high school. So that is kind of when I got the bug that I like sports just as a thing that I like. So then it actually didn't really occur to me until maybe high school that I could put sports and journalism together. So I got a ton of internships while I was in college, and when I would go home for the summer, I would get internships with the Detroit Shock, which is not here anymore, but
Yeah.
maybe coming back. So which I'm pretty excited about, but I think that's where it started, just in high school and at home, sports as a hobby and an interest of mine. And I think I like that it was just always around.
Mm.
There was always something to watch about it, like Sports Center was always on. Um, and then like I'm like a night owl, so it would be not only would sports be on, but like you could catch a 10 o'clock game.
Yeah.
And so it was just I just love this idea that I was awake and like other people are too, and we're all like watching the same thing. So um then like from there, it became like an actual kind of professional interest of mine, like I said, when I got to college and was doing all these internships and realized,
Yeah.
like, okay, this could be a viable career path.
And you've worked with the NBA, you've worked with the WNBA, and now in the NFL. I want to get into just what is the biggest difference in how fans engage with teams across these different leagues from a social media perspective?
I telling my age a little bit here, but basically when I started off, social media, like NBA Twitter was not even a thing. Like that wasn't the way that fans engaged at all. I think it was mostly like message boards or just in-person conversations or reading the newspaper, things like that. And then I guess you had a couple like the bigger sites were up, like maybe like ESPN
Yeah.
or Grantland. I used to spend a lot of time on Grantland.
Yeah.
So I've seen it kind of grow from just a little thing to um something fans could like a place where fans could gather, and I've seen it transform also into, the brands and the teams themselves use it, for their business purposes. Because like when I started with the Shock, I was the one kind of running their Twitter, which
Yeah.
was like barely a Twitter. There was no strategy, there was no content plan.
Yeah.
Um, Even my earliest days with the Pistons, it was like, oh yeah, by the way, maybe we could put this on Twitter. Their content strategy and the plan definitely did a total 180 from the time I started versus, the time I left. And then as far as the fans are concerned, yeah, they took to it like I don't know, I was gonna say like a fish to water. Suddenly it just like became,
The
the
thing.
fans were just there. Yeah,
Yeah.
suddenly the fans were there. I think, and I said all that to say, like, there was not necessarily like you weren't necessarily thinking about the fans on social media when I was with like the WNBA, although they were certainly there. But I would just say now the NFL is like a whole different beast. And all I have to go off of is my American perspective. Like I'm sure soccer is like 10 times more
Yes.
insane, but like NFL is there's a lot. Fans are not only are they interested in every aspect of it, but they know a lot of the
Yeah.
aspects of it, things that you wouldn't even think that, people pay attention to.
Yeah.
Like everything is like, oh, like, does that mean anything that, this guy is like wearing these different cleats? Or like, oh, he's holding like a different helmet. Like, what does that mean? And I'm just like, okay, you are like, that's like that's not an
The
Easter
attention to
egg.
detail, the attention to
Yeah.
detail is beyond right now.
That's not an Easter egg for you to pick up on. It's
Yeah.
just, he just happened to be holding that helmet. But so it's definitely been trial by fire. In the NFL, they definitely take it super seriously. So it's been interesting and it's been fun.
When you transferred from NBA and the Pistons to NFL and the Lions, was there a mindset shift you had to make from a social media perspective in terms of walking into this new realm of sports?
A little. I basically I always joke that I was like the exception to the rule, like when it comes to like getting hired right out of
Yeah.
college because I did, but I know that's not the case for everyone. So I like the Pistons was like my first like big
Yeah.
job. So basically everything I knew about sports and social media, it was pretty intertwined with like basketball. And like, how people or how like the I did it, with the Pistons. Like that was like
Yeah.
how that was just like my knowledge. So I felt like I had a really good knowledge base because after a while, I was there almost 10 years. So after, yeah, like I said, I started off right out of college and I was there, yeah, almost 10 years. So, after a while, combined with the other internships and companies that I had worked for too.
Yeah.
You do develop a very wide knowledge base
Yeah.
just in general. Like you don't stay 10 years at someplace without learning just like a lot.
Absolutely.
So I knew I had a good knowledge base, but then when I, started working for the Lions, the position itself shifted. So that in and of itself was just a different, a reframe. Like, okay, so I'm responsible
Yeah.
for these platforms, in a way that I maybe hadn't been before. So I think a lot of it was, just like a new job, new sport
Yeah.
mindset adjustment. And then yeah, some of it was just like very
Yeah.
general, But I think I did okay. Once I got the hang of it. It was a steep learning curve.
Yeah.
That first like year, the first year and a half, I was kind of like, what am I doing? But we after that first year,
You're
it
there.
was yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I'm sure walking into like you're having to learn a new fan base, you're having to learn the Lions' tone and voice and all these things that we're seeing out on social that, sometimes from if you're not in a marketing state of mind, you're not typically thinking about. But I'm
Mhm.
sure that was part of that curve as well, stepping into and having to immerse yourself fully in that Lions world.
And, I was part of it was I was kind of brought in to help develop a tone. So
Okay.
that was kind of a cool aspect of it where I could come in and be like, okay, how do we want to address fans? How do we want to speak to them? But
Awesome.
ironically, the other part of that is, um, you have to know your kind of team's mission statement.
Yeah.
And because like the brand voice, it's so your social media voice is just part of that. So an example like I'm sure I can say this, like the Sixers back when they were like tanking hard.
Yes.
It was like their brand just totally leaned into it. Some teams, when they're losing or tanking, even though they won't say they're tanking, when they're losing, they just lean into it, and it just
Yeah.
kind of is almost like a funny thing. But you know, like Pistons fans weren't like that,
Yeah.
and I don't really think Lions fans are like that either, where that's not really. You know, nothing. It's like you can't joke around. I
Yeah.
think the places I've always worked, have always had that mentality of like, you can't really, it's not really our thing to like joke around
Yeah.
if the team isn't playing well. So there's a good balance to be struck.
Yeah.
You know, team performance, and then, like I said, what your overall
Yeah.
team's brand voice is, kind of fitting it all into that. And then, yeah, fitting in how to speak to, this specific market of, I won't even just say Michigan or Detroit fans, but like
Yeah.
Michigan fans too. Like, there is things that are local to us,
Yeah.
that I, try to incorporate, every now and again. But there's a lot of different things like that. Like there's, Instagram and TikTok are a little bit younger. Twitter is older. Facebook is a little older. So even
Yeah.
just things like that, you kind of have to take into account. All of that helps shape your brand voice and your social media
Yeah.
voice. So it's a little bit of everything to kind of take into account, not just NBA versus NFL.
Well, and hitting on like the fan sentiment side of it as well, social media just becomes one of those places that when a game does not go the way fans wanted it to go, it just becomes this dumping ground of places. But when a game result kind of dictates that fan sentiment, how do you like to maintain that creativity and positivity and content? Even like Detroit's had tough losing streaks. It was years that they were
Hmm.
oh something and something, and it's been a long time. But we've had some good times here. But how do you like to work
Hmm.
and be creative through those challenging times?
You have to take it just kind of game by game. And I'm super lucky to work with a super communicative and creative team. And so we're always like passing around back and forth. And, we're all super just like knowledgeable about like what's at stake game to game, especially that back half of the season where every game matters, but it like could
Yeah,
matter in a different way. So just kind of staying knowledgeable about it. And a lot of it, it really
yeah,
is just like reading the room, but once you kind of get goodwill,
yeah,
you can kind of work, you can be a little more creative. Like my first season, you could be a little creative, and like everyone can be creative and fun during like camp. And during that beginning when nothing's happening and
yeah.
like everyone's, hopeful and everyone's 0-0, you can
Yes.
have fun with it. And then, you kind of adjust your plan based, kind of week to week.
Yeah,
But, after, week to week, and then, season to season, when it's a little more, the goodwill is there a little bit, and there's a little more eyeballs on you. It makes you kind of level up every aspect of your work, because now
yeah,
there's just this huge spotlight on you. But at the same time, people are there are more eyeballs on your work.
yeah.
But people are basically, everyone's like in a better mood. Like morale is higher. So you can kind of get away with like more memes or kind of
Yeah.
responding to people, things like that. Yeah, you just, like I said, you read the room and you just go week to week, and you just let you I want to say you listen to your fan base, you
Yeah.
do, but at the same time you can't please everybody. That's like a whole different tangent, but
Yes.
definitely paying attention to the vibe of the fans and taking
Yeah.
it into account, I would
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
is how we kind of stay grounded.
Yeah. Well, I'm piggybacking off of you mentioned it like the second half of the year becomes just this ultimate stressful time of the year and working and especially from a fan perspective, you're like every game, you're like we've got to do this. What's
Mhm.
been the most memorable or high pressure moment for you that you've had to cover but have so enjoyed, whether it was a loss or a win?
Oh man, and this, I I came in with like Dan Campbell. So I joked that like his record is my record. So I say that to say, you know, it's been a roller
Yeah.
coaster even in the past like 4 or 5 years. It's
Oh,
almost like night and day. So there have been a couple, and then I think another, as like a side note before I answer your question, I think one thing that makes me good at my job is that in this environment, I kind of like just kind of let things slide off, just like
yeah,
water off a duck's back. Like you just have to turn the page to the next game.
absolutely.
And that's kind of a good and bad thing because a lot of times like all the games just like blur together for me. There might be a couple of standouts for
Yeah,
different reasons. I'll be like, Houston, like yeah, I remember we won that game, but also like their press room food was like amazing. So I like remember stuff like that. I remember stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah, like I don't know. I don't remember if we lost that game, but like their
yeah,
halftime spread was like incredible. Um, I would say, I mean, there's so many for different reasons. I think it was my first year or my second year, when we missed the playoffs, but it was that
okay,
last game at Green Bay,
yeah,
when we still won. So like we didn't, it sounds bad, but like we're not going to the playoffs, like neither are
yeah,
you. So that one was pretty fun. Like morale was super high, and I
love it.
that morale genuinely like carried us into
Oh
the
yeah,
next season. Um, Last year, we had a lot of close games last year. So like any of those, take your pick.
yeah,
I'm in the tunnel like a nervous wreck.
yeah.
Um, the last year to beat the Vikings
Oh
to
my
win
gosh,
to win the division,
yeah.
I think that's probably I don't like it's like I don't even know why I was so nervous. I like genuinely don't know why I was so like it's just it
It's
means a
something.
lot to you. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's something. It means a lot to you. Like we would go back to back.
yeah,
So I think that is probably one of the more memorable ones,
yeah,
clinching the division at home because the year prior, we clinched it on the road right before
yes,
Christmas, which was another like
yeah,
awesome feeling. Just, not only for myself, but just kind of like bringing the fans along
absolutely.
too. And then I just remember like this moment the year that we just barely missed out,
Yeah,
there was talk of, oh, we were going to put the jersey on the Spirit of Detroit statue
yeah,
downtown. And, that plan kind of came out, I heard about it kind of after the fact
yeah,
because, we didn't get to do it. And in my head, I just thought that was like the coolest thing. And I'm just like, next year, if we don't get to do this, I will genuinely cry if somehow we
yeah,
don't. And then we did, we clinched, and I was immediately like, when are we doing the spirit? When are we doing the jersey? When are we doing the jersey? Like, I have to see it. Like, that's how I'll know it's
yeah.
real. I just think it's so cool. And the set is like first thing in the morning. So I was like, okay, well, I won't be there.
I'll
I
see
don't
it, but
think
I
I'll
won't say,
see it. I think
but
you
I'm
guys
there.
got it. I won't be up here at the crack of
Yeah,
dawn, but I will be very excited for it. But so just stuff like that when the
yeah.
city really just kind of like rallies around the team, I think that's been just like such a fun part of it.
For all the Lions fans probably have just PTSD from last year, just of all the defensive struggles that we had and
Yeah.
everything that had happened. So I'm like, I remember certain games, but there's certain times where I'm like, I remember who dropped that game more than
Yeah.
I.
Yeah. Yeah. It was tough.
Yeah,
I have to give, obviously all the credit in the world to our guys for
yeah,
for managing to still, get it done
yeah.
in the regular season.
One of the things that I love about your background too, and that I resonate with is you have a side hustle. You have not only this expertise that you've done in sports, but you have this side hustle of coffee mug media, which I love. And I want to hit
Hmm.
on because I feel like this is a perfect timing conversation that I have launched my media company and doing this for clients too. So I'm excited to talk to you about this and
Yeah.
how you balance running your own business and Coffee Mug Media while still managing something as big as social media for an NFL team.
Yeah, my little baby. Yeah, there's I just feel I felt like I just wanted to do more. I wanted to branch out. I'm so fortunate to have worked in sports for so long and acquired so much knowledge, and I was felt like I was ready to not only, use that knowledge in like a more personalized
Yeah.
way, but then also do other things besides sports, other interests of mine,
Yeah.
working for, like other like small businesses and like women-owned businesses or even, individual players to help them with their,
Yeah.
with their social media. So like I felt like I just wanted to tap into all of that and have a little taste of like being my own boss. Like I don't need to do that full time, but that, that's the balance right there. Like
Yeah.
it's a very nice checks and balances system I have going here.
And how'd you come up with Coffee Mug Media?
I was brainstorming so many different, names, and I had like a working name, and then I, just talking with my best friend, just kind of batting ideas
Yeah.
around. And I'm like, I do like my coffee, and it just kind of fit as like
Yeah.
as a brand, and like it all just kind of came together. And I'm like, yeah, I think we'll go in this direction.
How has working with this side hustle and doing these freelance opportunities with small to medium-sized brands through this influenced or even improved how you approach like strategy, other parts of social media?
That's a good question. They both definitely inform each other.
Okay.
I see kind of the gaps in knowledge or
Yeah.
expertise for like public figures,
Okay.
in my daily job. I see where you know, basically see where they need help.
Yeah.
And that kind of informs me in the type of clients that I, market myself to or that I look for. I'm just able to see, I definitely have to keep clear boundaries. I want to put that on the record. There are definitely clear boundaries
Yeah.
between both. Definitely a side hustle in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
But there's just it's all sometimes it feels like it goes into all one information bank that
Yeah.
feeds the other.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I also get inspiration from everywhere, from every kind of not just corner of the internet, but just in general.
Love it.
So I think the short answer is that they definitely feed each other.
Yeah. I've loved that. I resonate with that and I completely hear that because I think it's so funny with like the skills that I've learned with my freelance and my business like has funneled fully into full-time work that I've done and it just goes back and forth so much and just the things that you pick up. It's
Mhm.
amazing how they feed into each other.
Yeah, and the platforms themselves change so much that a big kind of aspect of what I try to impart to, people I might work with in a freelance capacity is that social media, it can't be your end all be
Yeah.
all. It could go away. It
Instantly.
could be down for a day or it could completely, go away or the terms of service could change or, fill in the blanks. So it's important to have other spaces that are just yours. And I think too, that's kind of another reason why I started it. All my portfolio was tied to a team. Not
Yeah.
that I couldn't, it was still my portfolio, but it's you get
Yeah.
into the weeds of like a contract, like it's not necessarily yours.
Yeah.
So having something that is kind of is yours and that is that you can, say you did that. I think I was all that's, another thing that I was interested in. And like I said, something I like to
Yeah.
impart to, potential clients or current clients that, it can't just be an Instagram page. You have to have a holistic kind of ownership of
Yeah.
your brand or yourself.
And you've managed teams and you've even spoken on panels about nurturing young talent. I want to just ask, like, what's your leadership style? How do you like to lead and keep your teams motivated?
Yeah, that is so funny. I was like thinking about that. I'm like, I should ask the people in my department, but I'm like, I might not like their answer. Like maybe I'm not as self-aware as I thought. But I just try to provide people with pertinent information right off the bat.
Okay.
If I know that I know more in a situation, um, I like to tell them all of that kind of preemptively.
Yeah.
I hate being in a space where I feel like I don't have all the information or all the
Yeah.
variables. Like it just even just in life,
Yeah.
when you're trying to figure something out and then someone hits you with this piece of information and you're just like, when were you going to tell me that? Like, you see me over here struggling, but I think it does people a service. I
Yeah.
won't even say a kindness, just a service to present them with what they need to know in order to succeed and not, in the opposite vein, not set anyone up to fail.
Yeah.
Um, I believe in like setting people up to do well, to do their own, to have the opportunity to,
Yeah.
post on their own or come up with ideas on their own. So I would just say I try to um lead with just like openness and
Um,
communication and information, which, most, I, that's probably like a generic answer. That's what most
no,
people
it's
should
good
be
though.
doing. But I like to just arm people with what they need to
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
before I send them out,
Yes.
to do a task. I just like hate the idea of just leaving people hanging,
Yeah.
leaving them to figure it out for themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much my leadership style.
I love it. And it's not hand holding. It's more of shepherding people
Yes.
along. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I think, you have to make people feel secure.
Mm.
And you also have to make them feel secure enough in to ask questions
Yeah.
if they don't know. And then, the worst case scenario is you want them to still feel open enough if they mess something up. You want them to be able to come to you. So I just try to, just like do those and like you said, shepherd them and then also
Yeah.
lead by example and just like take
100%.
accountability. If I, spell something wrong in a preview or whatever, like, or, hopefully nothing bigger than that. But if there's something that I, forgot to communicate, I think
Yeah.
it's just super important to just be communicative and just be like, that's on me,
Yeah.
like my bad.
Absolutely. What's the most Detroit thing that you've incorporated into content that a Lions or Piston fan would be like, "Yep, I know exactly what that is."
We've had a few like graphics that our amazing
Yeah.
graphics team has been able to put together with like the buffs, the glasses that are the Cartier glasses that are like such a Detroit staple. Anytime I can like incorporate something like that into the graphics, that's just my personal, I just like
Love it.
love that. I just think it's so funny and fun. And the fans they get it. Um, Probably like the what up though phrase. And then I think too also engaging with the other teams.
Yeah.
It's always I think that's something that we've all the four major teams and also soccer have leaned into
Yeah.
to to kind of foster
Yeah.
that sentiment of like we're all in this
Yeah.
together. So I would definitely say the Buffs, that's like my favorite
Love it.
little tidbit to add.
Love
And
it.
then sometimes when I like clap back to people, the comments will be like, "Oh yeah, that girl's from Detroit." It's like,
You're like,
ah,
thank you.
yeah. It's like, okay, yeah. It's like you see where I'm coming from. You know
Yeah.
I'm not playing, so
Yeah. I was just actually talking with my dad about this the other day. I think it's so incredible what has been done around downtown Detroit and around that it's so nice that all four teams are really accessible right near each other. So it's
Mhm.
really this beautiful park that's been created where all four sports are interacting with each other. To your point, like it's been really cool to see all this be built and this change in downtown.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's all, it may not have all started at the same time, but I feel like it's
Yeah.
kind of hitting its stride all at the
Yes.
same time. So I just love it. I love it for, personally, I love it for fans. I love it for the
Yeah.
team, us, and I love it for all the other teams that
Yeah.
we're all just part of this renaissance.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Lauren, my last question for you is a piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to follow a similar path, who wants to jump into this crazy world of sports and sports media that just continues to grow and we see more teams and all of this.
My main piece of advice, I mean, you could take it so many different ways, but you know, the core of it, I think, is staying true to yourself
Mm.
and staying true to how you operate and how you are most kind of effective. I think being true to how you present yourself and how you show up in the world, is going to open a lot of doors
Yeah.
for you. If you do the work, I could give so many tips. It's like if you do the work and you show up when you're supposed to and you focus on the skills that you have, obviously take advantage of learning opportunities when you want to, but I think being really good at your skill set and your
Mm.
creativity combined with just hard work will take you so far. Like even when I started with the Pistons, I was still the pop culture girl and like I was interested in fashion and reality TV and all of those things. And now I work for this amazing job where I'm able to somewhat thread all of those things
Yeah.
together. Um, I'm not the most ambitious networker.
Okay.
Especially in college, like I just didn't feel like that was the best way I could present myself to
Yeah.
others, so I kind of had to pick my spots and, develop organic relationships
Yeah.
with people, as opposed to just going to every networking event and going up and shaking every person's hand, just instead doing what worked for me got, I would say this, the same results or the results that got me what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I think staying true to yourself and your skills and your talents, like that will make a space for you in
Yeah.
this world, whatever industry you go into, you bring something unique to the table. So I
Yeah.
think nurturing that and focusing on that is something that'll get you far.
I appreciate you saying that though, because I don't think it's in everybody's being to go
Right.
up to people and to like it comes easy for everybody. I'm the same
Right.
way. I'm like,
Right.
I would rather organically get to know, I would rather sit down with somebody and have a meal and get
Yeah.
to know people that way than staying in a room filled with so many people. Like that's just
Right.
anxiety written for me.
Right. And the sports world is aggressive. They're not, these are very coveted jobs. Even though there are more opportunities than people think. Like you don't have to work for just the
Yeah.
major teams. Like I cut my teeth in, the WNBA before it was,
Yes.
this growing entity that it is today. Like I worked for like small radio stations, and it's all knowledge. And also the world is also very small. So if you present yourself well and do an amazing job in this smaller team or smaller sports marketing business, that could, pay off in other ways down the line that you can't even can't
Absolutely.
even imagine. So like it's you don't have to be the loudest in the room. You don't have to be the most aggressive, even though this is sports, there are, very dominating personalities, but that's not the only way in.
I love it. Lauren, I can't thank you enough for sitting down with me today and talking through all of this. I'm so excited and so honored to have Detroit represented here today. So thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me. If I would love to come back anytime.
Yeah, you guys, I'm gonna have all of Lauren's socials down below. Please go give her a follow, stay in tune with everything she's doing, and I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye.